All right, welcome back. I was hoping that you'll be listening to a voice from the rally that was at Jacaranda. Let's now listen to it now.
Kwanza tunataka Commonwealth Secretariat na United Nations itume inspectors hapa Kenya. Sio bwana Ruto, tumeelewana vizuri. Within the next 2 weeks, la sivyo Wakenya watachukua hatua yao wenyewe.
Wakenya kuungana pamoja kufanya peaceful demonstration, peaceful protest mpaka haki ifanyike. There can be no peace without electoral justice.
Ujue, tusipofuatilia kura ya baba, maisha yako ndio itaendelea kuzoroteka. Vita ni ya mwananchi na wale wanyakuzi wamenyakua kura za wananchi na kutumia vibaya.
Majority wanne walisema baba ameshinda, ni watatu walisema ni Ruto. Tuko pamoja? Munakubali baba ndio alishinda hiyo kura?
All right. So those are the leaders from the Azimio side of politics. And Honorable Atandi, when you listen to the voices of Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, as well as Eugene Wamalwa, one wonders, what is the end game here? Because it's 140 days since William Ruto became president. It's actually more than 5 months since the last election. What is the end game with all these allegations?
Sam, the reality on the ground is that we are in a crisis, and the crisis is emanating from what we see as lack of credibility in the previous elections, and this crisis must be addressed. And to add salt to injury is that immediately the elections are announced and President Ruto takes over, then we begin to see him engaging in purging the electoral systems and trying to clear and remove some commissioners. Now we've been in this country for some time, and we know that there's always a problem with IEBC, and this is the reason why every electoral contest, the debate is always whether we need who so and so to sit in the IEBC. It means that even the people who are engaging in the elections, the participants, are aware that if you are not aligned properly with the IEBC in place, then there's no way you are going to go anywhere in the electoral contest. And so the question of who sits in IEBC is something that has occupied our debate for some time, especially during elections. And so we cannot, sit down and assume that that after the elections, the president begins to purge the electoral system and to bring in his own people. That one is unacceptable. And this is one of the things that has created more crisis. And what we are saying as Azimio is that we are not going to allow one side of the political divide to begin by appointing their own commissioners into office. And two, the full-blown crisis which we are seeing now means that if there is no intervention from some quarters, then Kenyans will demand for justice. And if Kenyans begin to demand for justice, and they begin to riot, they begin to demonstrate and to engage in mass action, then all of us are going to suffer. And therefore, we are asking the people sitting in government right now, people sitting in the presidency, to ensure that they engage in consultations and ensure that whatever processes they want to engage in, such as appointing IBC commissioners, those processes must be consultative, and let every side of the political divide consulted, so that we get to an amicable solution. Otherwise, if they continue the way they are doing, some I can assure you that we are not going to have a country. And if this country is not there, me and you, we are all going to suffer. So it is better for us to engage ourselves and agree on some of these things we are going to do. Because some of these things we are going to do, like constituting IBC, are things that will affect each and everybody. And we as politicians who are looking forward to participating in more elections in future, we will not sit back and be given commissioners that are going to endorse particular candidates.
But Honorable Atandi, you still haven't answered my question, because I'm asking you, when all these allegations that we won the election, I have evidence, which I will be playing the clip shortly. We have evidence that Wafula Chebukati visited Raila Odinga. I mean, what do you want to achieve with this?
We want justice, Sam. We want justice. We were in an elections, which we think we were robbed of. So we are still looking for justice. We are just not going to sleep. We will not sleep, Sam. We are looking for justice, because justice is, without justice, if we don't get justice, Sam, then, you know, we are not going to have peace. You cannot have peace where there's no justice.
So what is the path?
The end game is that we are looking for justice. And
what is the path to that justice?
Come on.
What is the path to that justice, Honorable Atandi?
The path to justice is consultations. There must be consultations in some of these actions that the president has done.
No, Honorable Atandi,
why would you?
Honorable, you are losing me, because I'm asking you a question. Your side of politics has come and said that Raila Odinga won this election by this much. You've gone ahead. Actually, let's listen to the voice. Then you put this into context of what Raila Odinga said yesterday.
Bwana Chebukati anasema kuna watu wanataka kuonga hii. Hata wale wenzake si bwana kulie, bwana Boru. Nataka niwaulize hao mlienda kwa nyumba ya baba kufanya nini? Wale mama walikuja kwangu kufanya nini? Waliomba nini? Waliomba nini? Sio kwa mimi niko na picha yao. Runinga. Ukicheza mimi ndio toa.
Wale watu walienda kwa Tuju, wakatoka mkono tupu. Halo? Wakaenda kwa baba, wakatoka mkono tupu. Sasa wewe unafikiria kutoka kwa baba walienda kwa nani? Kwa nani? Hiyo video yote ya Chebukati tutoe hapa, tufukuze mwizi. Ama namna gani?
Saizi mnasema ya kwamba mnataka DCI afanye investigation ya uchaguzi. Huyo DCI si Ruto ndiye alimweka hapo.
Okay, so Honorable, that's what I'm talking about. So they're making all those allegations, and of course, Wafula Chebukati and Boya Molo are not here to defend themselves, or they were not at the rally to defend themselves. But what do you want to achieve with that exactly? Because you're saying you want justice, but how?
Those are not allegations, those are realities. Those are facts. Chebukati and those commissioners, they went to Raila Molo Odinga's home. And they went to Tuju's home. Those are not allegations, those are facts. And those are facts which can be rebutted. Chebukati can call a press conference to rebut those facts. Those are facts as far as we're concerned. These commissioners are not commissioners who are capable of conducting a credible election. These are commissioners who are looking for money, who are looking for who is giving them more money so that they can make the president of the Republic of Kenya. Those are facts, and we have said them. So those are not allegations.
Did you know these at the point you are the Supreme Court? Did you know that Wafula Chebukati visited Raila Odinga? Go ahead.
These things happened, some Honorable Tuju even called a press conference and spoke about these things, even before the Supreme Court. He spoke about them. Yeah, so we are not, there's nothing new. These are things that have been said before. They are demonstrating that the kind of people who sat in IBC to preside over elections were mercenaries for hire. There were people who the person they declared as the president is the person who paid them money. And that's what we are trying to say here. Yeah, we are not hiding. Yeah, that is the reality. And this is part of the reason we are saying there's a crisis, because the fact that these individuals moved from homes of key leaders, asking for resources and asking for bribes, is a demonstration that the declaration of William Ruto as president was not credible. Yeah, and this is part of the crisis we are talking about. And that's why we are saying that if Kenyan leaders cannot talk amongst themselves, then we may need an external party to come and bring the people together, the leaders together, so that we can look for a solution. And if that is not done, Sam, I'm telling you that this country belongs to all of us. And if something happens to this country, these things are not done, then maybe we'll not have a country. Simple and clear. There's nothing to, you know, there's nothing more to look for an explanation unless you are working for the government of the Republic of Kenya in this debate.
Honestly, Honorable Tandi, you know who I work for, so I'll not respond to that. But I hear you.
On this debate, you're on the side of the government, because you are trying to ask me to make an interpretation of something which is very clear. Very clear.
I'm sorry if you don't like my questions, but I think I have to ask them because I need the answers. And of course, you're saying several things about Wafula Chebukati and the former IBC commissioners. Those are your allegations. We have no way of substantiating them, so we still attribute them to you. But Titus, when you listen to these concerns, what should we do with them? Because there are questions about what is the place of this information, but also you have a side that feels so strongly. You can hear Honorable Tandi repeating that these are facts, according to him.
First of all, Sam, Honorable Tandi's premise is wrong. He's saying that these allegations that the elections was rigged, that Honorable Raila Odinga won, that has been allegedly information that has come to the public courtesy of a so-called whistleblower. And even this whistleblower has been brought to the attention of the public by the Azimio faction. So those are unsubstantiated facts. So I'm a bit perturbed when I hear Honorable Tandi saying that these are facts, because a fact is something that is not in doubt. It's something that you don't need to argue about. Now, as it stands, we do not have any evidence supporting those allegations by the whistleblower. But most importantly is, even if it is true that indeed elections were rigged or that Honorable Raila Odinga won, of what purpose does it serve at this particular point when the court, which has the mandate to determine the validity of the election of a president, is functus officio? The only thing, of course, that that serves is to set the political motion, the political vehicle in motion. And one thing, upon analyzing all these facts and upon analyzing the script that Azimio is now playing, it is the same script that they have played since 2013. And I think some of these MPs, senators, and governors that are allied to Honorable Raila Odinga, they are not candid and honest enough to him. I think that the strategy is always to flaunt Honorable Raila Odinga so that the fanatics of Honorable Raila Odinga and his supporters can see that these are the people that stand with Honorable Raila Odinga, so that when the time comes, when elections are being conducted, they will overwhelmingly vote for these people, regardless of whether they have a manifesto or an agenda for them or not. Because that's clearly what's happening. Even if this information comes to the public purview, I don't think it's going to serve any purpose at this point. Even if they say, yes, it was rigged, what is the recourse that they have in law? Because remember, every issue has to be addressed based on what the law says. The court, which is the Supreme Court, is now functus officio. This is information that has come way after that. And the question that now they need to answer, what stopped them from availing this evidence when the lorry was being availed at the Supreme Court?
Okay, you have to go there. I'm waiting to listen to the president and the deputy president. They spoke in Narok yesterday about the conversations going on in the political circles. Watch.
All of us leaders must not engage in the business of dividing the people of Kenya, of bringing confusion, of bringing disunity, or bringing hate and division among us, the people of Kenya. It is our collective responsibility as leaders to work for the people of Kenya, irrespective of whether you are in the opposition or in government, because the people of Kenya are one.
Baba yake alisumbua baba ya Uhuru Kenyatta. Yeye akasumbua Moi, akasumbua Kibaki. Amechukua Uhuru, ameweka kwa mtaro. Sasa mnataka aweke rais wetu kwa mtaro. Sasa ati anataka ati tuongee, ati atafutiwe bahari.
So that's the president and the deputy responding to what has been going on. But of course, Raila Odinga is quoted somewhere else saying that wanasema ati ninataka maandamano, hao hawanijui mimi, hawanijui waende waulize Nyayo. So there's that sort of grandstanding between the two sides. And Dr. Komolo, how do we then reconcile all these things at a time a country is yearning to move forward? Like we just spoke about the cost of living, the challenges that Kenyans are facing. They're looking for answers. Yet many times politics gets to get in the way of that success. What do we do with that?
So some my friends are divided on this because we also debate this privately. There are those who think that once elections have been conducted and the victors have been sworn in, then people should go back to their routine jobs and let the government work until, of course, after about 5 years, then we go into campaign mode again. There are those, and that's where I belong, who also think that it is the responsibility of political parties to actively engage in politics, critique the government and support it where necessary. And it is part of enhancing democracy if political activity is sustained throughout the 5 years. So on my side, I think that those criticizing the opposition for mandamanos and all that probably do not appreciate where Kenya has reached in terms of citizen engagement in the political process. And political process is not about elections alone. It's also about routine cost of living issues. It's also about unearthing corruption in the public service. It's also about Kenya engaging regionally and internationally, and that can only happen if we critique the government. Criticizing the government does not mean, for avoidance of doubt, it doesn't mean that we don't like William Ruto. It simply means that we are undertaking our civic duty, which is to remain alert and ensure that those charged with administering our taxes do it responsibly and spend money on priority issues. I am worried, I need to mention that, I'm worried by the ongoings at IEBC and its implications, potential implication on the 2027 elections. And remember, when we last met, I mentioned to you that personally I didn't see the hurry in the president doing away with the Cherera 4, because I know that it's very important to have institutional continuity in IEBC. And so while the verdict is out there on the role of Cherera 4 one way or the other, I think it was probably in the national interest that the investigation could be halted, because we knew Chebukati and his team of 3 were leaving anyway. We knew that was going to happen on the 17th of January. And so the crisis that IEBC faces now is totally self-made. And I foresee a situation where there is almost certainly not going to be consensus, because the president now has the mandate to reconstitute IEBC and is going, give or take, reconstitute the entire team, going by, of course, what we see in the tribunal. It's almost predictable that he's going to appoint the 7 new commissioners. 7 new commissioners at a point where the opposition that controls about half of the country are already in disagreement that this should not continue. So you can foresee a situation where if the president does not engage the leadership of the opposition, then we are going to start with a new team, depending on when they are appointed, somewhere mid this year, that is not accepted by the very people they're supposed to mediate elections on their behalf. And you can foresee a situation where this is going to be a crisis after crisis, and 2027 elections may be a foregone conclusion if you look at it from the perspective of the opposition. And I don't know Mr. Gachagua well, but I think that he needs to consult more before speaking, particularly when alluding to those historical issues. When you are a person of the deputy president, you should not be seen to be divisive. And such small statements are the things that once they pile up, it reaches a point where they themselves cannot govern. And so I think that this is something that could be.
What exactly do you take issue with him?
That's the thing you just played. He's talking about Raila's dad, he's talking about previous governments, and it's obvious that Mr. Odinga and Mr. Kibaki really worked together for some time, and that's why we have the 20 2010 constitution and all that. So there are so many things that have been achieved in this country when opposition and government work together than when they talk at each other. At the moment, they are talking at each other, and people, even yesterday I received so many calls about people who don't have school fees. They are talking at each other instead of solving real issues, cost of living issues, housing crisis, infrastructure crisis, so many things. And of course, regional crisis, if you look at the crisis across East African communities. So the long and short of it is that on issues of IEBC, it is so important that the president consults. It is so important.
But tell me, Wakili, because still, yes, a consultation can be held, but some of the things that are being raised at the political podium, alleging that certain commissioners visited Raila Odinga, visited Rafael Tuju, they wanted certain things, because now you create an impression in the supporters of Azimio that indeed the commissioners are bribed so that you have William Ruto being declared president, and they get confused because the Supreme Court said that we see no problem in the conduct of the election, and so he was validly elected.
So the question of valid election of Mr. Ruto otherwise is something that is up for grabs. People are free to debate the way they want. The allegation that Mr. Chebukati and his team visited political leaders around that time is not something new. It's something we've known from as early as August last year. We knew that they visited not only Mr. Odinga, they also visited the Azimio, the Kenya Kwanza side of the political position at that point. The bigger point is credibility of the team, in my view. Visiting, and we expect the IBC to engage political players. We expect them to visit, particularly leading presidential candidates, and we expect them to engage regularly. The bigger question is, what was the purpose of the visit? That we still don't know. We are waiting for the actual revelation. And if they visited private homes, then of course that casts a lot of aspersions on their credibility, which is something, of course, that the Supreme Court also tried to delve into, although not exhaustively. Of course, they concluded that they were not working as a team, that there's need for more collaboration going forward and things like that. The bigger question, in my view, is that will the political leaders be courageous enough to tell us their engagement with Mr. Chebukati, both the government side and the opposition side? And I suspect they will not.
You actually think that the election could have been settled at those meetings?
It's up to them to tell us. The bigger point is, why did they visit? What time? And what were the demands? Okay. And my suspicion is that, of course, there might have been some element of trying to host-trade things here and there, but I was not in those meetings, and I'm certainly not privy to the details of the meetings and all that. But I'm concerned, very concerned, that IBC commissioners could visit presidential candidates and put demands. And since Mr. Odinga has come out to allege that the commissioners visited him, I think the onus now goes back to him to give us the details. What were the demands? Did he accede to them? I remember also Cherera 4 were visited. We also want to know the details. Why were they visited? I think some hotel somewhere around the Yaya Center. Right. What were the demands? Is this commission, as it was then, could it be trusted to mediate in the elections of 2022? And my suspicion is probably they were very conflicted. Very conflicted.
All of them?
But I think the entire team. Very conflicted.
All right. Honorable Atandi, if you are to reflect back